start the afternoon with another Pecha Kucha presentation. I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is Warren Sonoda. Warren is a BAFTA and CSA winning double Emmy nominated filmmaker. He's directed 11 feature films, 167 music videos, over 100 episodes of TV, including Trailer Park Boys, Ghost Rider, Utopia Falls, Murdoch Mysteries, and just finished 2 episodes of the series Resident Alien. With a fabulous DGC crew.
DGC BC crew.
DGC BC crew. Sorry, yes, correct. Japanese Canadian Sonoda is the national president of the Directors Guild of Canada after serving as the NDD chair and the ODC directors rep. So welcome, Warren, to Vancouver remotely. Thank you for coming and looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me all good there, Matt. Thank you, Matt. DGC BC, LMGI, and MPCI. I am Warren Sonoda. I am a filmmaker and DGC national president, and I am beaming in from Toronto, which is the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It's now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. And I do invite all of us as creators of culture to help improve our relationship with Indigenous people and uphold the values of collaboration and inclusion in all that we do. And I truly wish I was there instead of on this very large screen. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it out there. But when Ken and Andrea from DGC BC asked me to present a Pecha Kucha this year, quickly I had to learn what that was. And when I found it was a Japanese word, I was in. And I quickly watched the YouTube clips of some of the past ones. And although I won't be as inspiring as Kendry Upton was, or as downright hilarious as Russ Hamilton, I wanted to do something good. I've been, at one point I was going to video something, but then it's like, how do I put together a slideshow? And, how does that work? I'm even a little nervous about, sharing my screen. Is that going to work now? Let's see. Can you see my screen right now? Okay, very good. I think I can see it on this little Zoom thing. So yeah, I was wondering what I was going to talk about. As the DGC president, do I want to talk about the DGC Green.ca initiative and the Sustainable Climate Action Committee, chaired by BC's very own Claire George. But I'm assuming we're talking about sustainability all throughout today. So I'll leave that up to the experts in the room. I also thought maybe, was I supposed to talk about the amazing experience I had on Resident Alien 2 with our DGC BC crew, seeing all the phenomenal locations that it was such an amazing experience to be able to shoot at these places. There's Gurjeet and our director, producer, Robbie Duncan McNeil and Whistler. And I thought maybe no. I mean, I think when Andrea was intimating I was supposed to talk about my personal journey, trying to tie in specificity of voice through place and maybe the power a location might have on people and on what we do. So today I'll try to weave a narrative not only on how incredible BC is, but a full circle of coming home and what that might mean to me. So here we go. I was born. This is me. This is me and my mom. This is me dancing. I can't dance, but I guess I fancy myself a dancer. You can see the resemblance to this day. Somehow I outgrew glasses, although as I get older, with my DGC benefits, I'll probably have to get some. But my parents, and here's the thing: I was looking through old pictures throughout, trying to get this all together, and it's me and my mom. And then I'm like, "Where's Dad?" Because they're a happy couple. They raised me, and I realized my dad Roy was always taking pictures, and that's probably where I got it from, is picking up a camera and. There they are, Newlyweds in Hamilton, Ontario. So I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, and I lived sort of just outside of it in Toronto. Here's my mom and dad a little while ago, a little closer to now. And here they are now. For some reason, my mom's wearing a blue muumuu and holding a bag of Cheetos. But this is my home in Hamilton, Ontario. One of the first houses on the street. I think they bought it for $15,000 back in the 50s. They had just gotten this as newlyweds. Very excited. We used to play in the backyard, and this is where my imagination would run free. Um, and a happy family in front of their house. My two brothers, Ron and Bob, there. Uh, Wonderful brothers. I know. I wish everyone had older brothers because my experience with them have been transformative. Everything that they were fascinated with me when I was born, and when I was 10 years old, Ron and Bob bought me a Super 8 camera, and then promptly told my mom and dad to leave me alone and let me kind of do my film thing. So that's kind of how it all started, and my brothers certainly were responsible for not only nurturing my curiosity in film, but protecting me from my mom and dad because otherwise maybe they might want me to turn out to be a mathematician or something that I have no applicable skill in. So here we are growing up. Here we are today. Um, uh, so the sense of family was so important for me when I was growing up. Here they are, my mom and dad in front of their house in Hamilton. Um, Full of wallpaper. I'm sure location scouts in the room when you go out and you see houses and you see something like this and you see that on the back, you immediately have some imagination of what you might want to do in a shot. But there they are with my young niece Emily, and here they are in their house that has been sold, and that was a shock. And you know, when we think of locations, especially in the work we do, we think of, we have a hospital scene, so we have to go to an institutional building. I know BC, you have that one hospital set. I did a set visit once, and like I think four productions were shooting there. So if I ever had a side hustle, I might open up a hospital set in BC. But locations go beyond the places that we shoot in, film in, recce. Locations to me and places are absolutely fundamentally transformative, and they really tell you who you are, right? So as filmmakers, and I guess the director location manager relationship, part of it is trying to not only find the perfect location to shoot the story in, but finding places that have those flourishes and those things that are part of the narrative that you're trying to tell that somehow you can make personal. When I look at this picture, just a standard, wartime bungalow in Hamilton, Ontario, bought for $15,000, sold for way more. Thankfully, they were able to do it before everything that's happening. But it was so bittersweet. But the reason why they sold their house was they were coming home to BC. Not specifically to where they were born, but this is my niece Chelsea, who's building a sort of a suite for them in their home in Bella Coola, BC, and just the majesty and the just the beauty of what BC has to offer um, simply doesn't exist. Hamilton, Ontario, we call the escarpment a mountain. It ain't a mountain. I've been to BC; those are mountains. So it's a wonderful sort of journey for my mom and dad now in their 88th and 87th year to go back to BC. But this is just not two older parents going home to have a great time in the second half of their journey. This is a place that obviously has a history, and when we talk about specificity of place, and we're talking about the narratives that we tell, we can't talk of places without talking about the places. And obviously, in Canada in World War II, they interned all the Japanese into what ostensibly were mining towns in the interior of BC. This is Lemon Creek. These images, these black and white images, because my mom and dad are moving, I didn't have a chance to actually go back and get their pictures. So these are all from the Nikkei National Museum and Cultural Center. Um, but within the beauty and the majesty of the mountains were these places where um, Japanese Canadian families were put into what are sort of mining shacks or hunter cabins, and they had to make do. There's a saying in Japanese, and I was taught this by my parents, so I'm pretty sure it's not accurate. But shikataga ne, because their Japanese is not very good. But the idea of for the sake of the children, let us endure. So from this world of being taken from what was their home, either in Vancouver or on the coastal cities, they were put into um, um, camps on the interior. And this is my dad now revisiting. I think this is a picture from Slocan in the interior of British Columbia, and they went back um, a little while ago to visit in the summer, and during that time, somehow, the conversation of selling their home that they own outright in Hamilton and uprooting and coming back to BC was a good idea at 88 and 87 years old. Um, Here they are with my niece Chelsea, who's picking them up the airport and bringing them back. Um, and this is them with their now great grandchildren, Cato and Alden, at Chelsea's house in BC. And for me, this journey that I just took you on, and I know these things are only supposed to be like 5 minutes. The Pecha Kucha format of 20 frames and 20 seconds each. So I don't want to go over. But what I want to end on is something that I felt in BC when I was there shooting Resident Alien. It's the power of a place, of a location. Um, how how important is it? How much of a magnetic draw does a place have that a land that literally imprisoned my parents has drawn them back years and years later? Um, it shows that we not only showcase locations when we work, but when we weave sort of the fabric of the story narrative into the images, when we show those snow-capped mountains, those great forests, even if it's Stanley Park, when we show the mining towns and the cities and metropolises that we live in, every single person has a different perspective on things, and people will react differently. I know the longing for BC my parents had was always spiked in their curiosity when they saw images shot in BC, whether from movies or television shows. Um, and I just thought this is something that we rarely talk about. Um, when Ken and I sat down to go through the Resident Alien blocks, um, you know, X amount of locations, moving the unit from the PNE to Langley to wherever we need to go. It sometimes gets down into the language of just logistics, but hopefully this little journey that we took you on here shows you that the locations and the places that we showcase and show um, oftentimes when we release it into the world, people react in different ways. I remember doing sci-fi MOW called Merlin and the Book of Beasts that we did in 2008, and we did shoot in Langley and in different areas. And that's when my mom and dad really commented on BC and how they missed it, and how um, as much as they were children during this time in the war, they have these memories of being with their friends and their family, and those things they're etched in the trees and in the forests and in the water. So thank you, DGC, BC, and LMGI for inviting me here today. I wish I was there in person to talk further about all the important things that you're talking about today. But as much as we're talking about sustainability and of location leadership, let's not forget the relevance of the locations that we're shooting in. And I think Matt, prior to me going on to this, had it was the same sort of spirit that he was talking about when his production was smudged. These places are sacred. They go back to time eternal, and we are very fortunate to be able to capture them on film. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.